there's some huge ramifications here, Stephen. The first one to consider is an audit by the UK tax authorities, HMRC. No sane organisation wants that. The second one to consider is fines. The fines range from 30% of unpaid taxes right up to 100% of unpaid taxes, depending on what an organisation has done or hasn't done in relation to carrying out appropriate IR35 assessments. The next item that organisations need to consider is there's potential court prosecutions involved. So if they are willful or have concealed IR35, then they might face court prosecution, which no organisation wants. Of course, that all has an impact on an organisation's reputation, and no organisation wants to damage their well-earned corporate reputation. So if they fail to get this right, then that could damage that. And of course, the last element, and this hasn't been considered so much, Stephen, is around talent flight or talent loss to countries where the regime is a lot more contractor-friendly, because let's face it, IR35 is not contractor-friendly.
And so you'd mentioned earlier, Conor, that there's probably a lot of organisations out there that are under pressure to meet this deadline. What advice would you give them?
Sure. There's a number of steps that we would recommend, Stephen. The first one is that they set up a Stakeholder Working Group to plan for how they're going to implement the processes and procedures required to successfully implement 35. And that stakeholder group needs to consist of the following, in our view, Stephen. One is tax, legal, HR, talent acquisition, hiring managers, and if you've got an MSP provider, they should be incorporated into that stakeholder group. And given the risks involved, there shouldn't be a problem within your organisation putting that band together. The second thing organisations need to do once they've created that stakeholder group is have a plan, obviously, right? And as Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they're punched in the mouth, but a plan is important, right? And off the plan come in the processes that you're going to use to adequately and accurately categorise whether your workers fall inside or outside 35. A key other point that organisations should take where they've got recruitment suppliers involved is they need to meet with them, and they need to share with those recruitment suppliers how they're going to approach this 35 change and the change management around that, and how that's going to impact on the workers that the recruitment suppliers are providing. And the fourth thing that they should do, which should fall into the policies and procedures that they're putting in place, is to select an audit tool that will help those organisations categorise whether workers are inside or outside 35.
So talking about audit tools, the government have their own, the CES tool. Do you think that's sufficient?
Not in our view, Stephen. It's been determined in tax tribunals in the UK that the HMRC won't even stand over the determination that their own tool is made. Crazy.
So if there's a risk that the CES tool doesn't make organisations fully compliant, what would you suggest?
So what we found, Stephen, and as I mentioned earlier, we've been working with some of our clients for years on ensuring that they're ready for IR35, that they can accurately and adequately categorise their workers to determine if they're inside or outside IR35. Frankly, that has been a very manual process. So what we've sought to do over the last year, Stephen, is digitise that, and we've created an innovative platform called CXC Comply, which allows us to work with our clients to speed up and make that process more efficient, and crucially has an audit trail built into the platform. So in the unlikely event of a HMRC investigation, there's a firm audit trail in there.
Great. And so if a company hasn't started, preparing for IR35, would CXC Comply get them over the line?
Absolutely. Stephen, we'd be delighted to speak with them.
So how should you get in contact?
Please email conor.heaney@cxcglobal.com.
That's brilliant, Conor. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Stephen.